Good. So, hello everybody. Welcome as well on my behalf to our first community session. Thank you for coming when the weather is so nice out there. I really was wondering, but it's crazy to come inside when the weather is like that, so special kudos that you are here today. I'm gonna have a little bit dense presentation about my take on coaching. It's mainly background pictures, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit more. So the first question is, do you have dreams? Big dreams, small dreams, shiny dreams, wet dreams? No, we're not going to talk about the wet ones, but the big ones, and the shiny ones, and the smaller ones as well. But how to make the dreams come true? And this is where coaching comes into play. One of the least scientific but nicest definition of coaching that I know is, coaching is helping other people to make their dreams come true. And there is now just two notes to start with. First of all, personal coaching versus business coaching. Yes, they are different. They are somewhat different tools, but the principles that I'm going to talk about today, they apply actually for both in a very similar way. And then there is not one way of coaching. There is a lot of different tools, a lot of different frameworks, a lot of different philosophies, and they all can work for one or the other person. It's highly individual, as people are. There is not just one thing, so this is just my take on it. And then there is other disciplines that are aiming to improve the life of people, make dreams come true. And I roughly categorize them in self-help, mentoring, and coaching. And I want a little bit elaborate more on the coaching side, obviously, and what makes coaching different from the other two. So let's start with self-help, with books, audios, videos, whatever you can do in order to find self-help. You might wonder, why do I talk about self-help when I talk about coaching? But it will make sense. Because the first most interesting thing about self-help is that it's actually not self-help at all. If you read a self-help book, you're actually asking for help, you're asking for advice. And advice is not self-help, that is help. So you are getting advice from somebody else based on their experience. And that might not be always fitting one-to-one to your life experience. Because everybody is individual. Everybody's life situation is different. And in every unique life situation, you need to really adjust to that person's particular need. And a self-help book quite often is, let's say, generic advice. That can be very, very useful to some extent in the same ways as a math book can be very useful for kind of giving information, transporting information. But then the challenge is how to make that fit to your life. And for that you have to think into the process of thinking, become a little bit later on again. The next thing is mentoring. Now mentoring is really straightforward advice. That's looking for advice from somebody who knows something about something that you want to know something about, or who has achieved something you want to achieve about. As well, this can be very, very useful, and it definitely beats reading a book, because you can go back to the coach and ask questions. The coach can advise in a more specific way to what you need, so it's definitely better than a book, but still, it is advice based on another person's experience. And let's be honest, don't we all love to give advice? It makes us feel good, it makes us feel important, it boosts our ego. And there comes then maybe the problem that if the coach, or the mentor in this case, starts to see everything through his own lens, his own eyes only, then it might move to the situation, the old saying that if the only tool that you have is a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail. And there's a certain danger that mentoring develops into something like that. And from that point of view, it is really, really important that a mentor knows when to give advice and when not to, and when to listen. And by that we come to coaching. Coaching is not advice. The coach is not the subject matter expert. And that is true in business coaching and in personal life coaching. A coach helps to make your dreams come true, not his dreams come true. So coaching, most of all, is a process. Oh, sorry, and I jumped one thing, and that was the point that who is the best expert of your life situation? And that is you, right? So nobody can tell your life situation better than you. Nobody is a better expert on your life situation. And the task of a coach is helping you clarifying your life situation and helping you to find the best solutions on your specific situation. And then we come to the next point, that coaching is a process. And there is a lot of different frameworks on how you can coach. Now, I've been working with the World Coaching Organization. There we are using mainly ROSA 1 to ROSA 3. That's a very comprehensive framework. ROSA is for reality, objective, solution, actions. And there is a whole framework beneath it for life evaluation, for goal setting, for creative solution creation, and as well then how you foster implementation and how you make things happen, essentially. But besides ROSA, I, for example, like as well to use design thinking for coaching. Design thinking is not a coaching tool in the first place, but it's a solution creation tool. It's something that I've been using in my work quite often, and it works as a coaching framework as well, pretty well. So it's good to combine different methods and again adjust to what the coachee in that situation actually needs and how you can help. Now, as a coach, besides the process, you need different tools. And one of the most important tools of a coach is a genuine conversation. Talking. Why is talking so important? Well, did you ever have the experience that you just needed to talk to somebody? And even if that other person didn't even say much, maybe ask some questions, you felt actually better afterwards. You actually had more clarity. You knew better what you were talking about than before, and you maybe were closer to a solution. And why is that? Why could you not just do it by yourself? Well, that is because people think by talking. Now, thinking is hard, because in order to think, you need to pitch different opinions, different articulations against each other. Thinking is listening to yourself. And for that, you need to create different personalities in your mind. And these different personalities, they represent different point of views, different arguments, so you have to pitch them against each other. They have to fight with each other, and sometimes they have to die. And that's not a very easy process to do, doing that all in your head. And you can as well not just put strawmans against each other, because then you are not thinking, then you are just rationalizing what you have preconceived already, then you are not thinking. So if thinking is hard, what do? We talk. The listener is kind of collaborator and opponent at the same time. A listener keeps us honest. And we are more forced to think in a structured way. If we are putting arguments forward that makes no sense, in our brain we might be getting away with it, but as soon as we tell somebody we might realize, oh, this was actually really stupid. This actually didn't make any sense. And interestingly, that works a lot better when we can talk to somebody. Particularly if we can see that other person and we can see the reaction on their faces. They don't even need to say anything, but if we say something and the other person goes a little bit like, we know, okay, did I just say something weird? And so we go back and we reflect on our reality. And is that reality matching with the reality out there, or are we just totally off the chart right now? But then part of coaching is not just listening. Essential part of coaching is asking questions. And then with the ROSA frameworks, there come a whole set of question strategies. But then there is other ones like meta models, which are a complete structure of how to frame, how to phrase certain questions to come to certain points and conclusions. It's well helpful to know something about meta programs, because we always assume that people function in a similar way that we do. For example, I remember many, many years ago, my days with girlfriend, I got really, really angry when she was late, when she didn't call at the time that we agreed, because I took it personal. Only when I learned about timeline concepts, I realized, no, we just have very different representations of time. And that changed everything. Or as well, when it comes to convincer strategies, there is this admittedly old joke of the Scotch couple, where the wife says, we have been together now for 20 years, married for 20 years, and you never tell me that you love me. And he says, well, I told you that I loved you when we got married. I would have informed you if that would have changed. So, very different strategies.
Could be Finnish couple as well.
I will use that next time. And then as well, what definitely plays a role in the coach is the personality, that the personalities are somewhat matching. It definitely helps if that coach has a lot of life experience and can relate. It is good if a coach has been going through the good times and the bad times, has seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and can relate at least somewhat to the situations that you are in. It's definitely helpful if the coach is a somewhat analytical person, so he can help you taking things apart, and then a restorative person, so he can as well help to put things back together again. And of course, any kind of background in psychology or sociology is really helpful, but beyond that as well, even backgrounds in technology are helpful, all the things that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, because everything that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis is something that really helps in helping people. And then we are coming to the next point that we had, and this was the solution creation. And solution creation, sometimes there are obvious answers, but if there is not, then solution creation is a creative process, and there is a lot of creative tools out there, but one of the simplest, best known, and still very functional is doing brainstorming. And when we do brainstorming, we really should be pushing for a lot of ideas, 40, 50, 60. And the logic behind that one is that when we start to brainstorm, when we start to think about solutions, first we have the obvious ideas, the stuff that comes to mind immediately, and then a lot of people say, yeah, but that's all there is. And then we push further, and then we come to a little bit more interesting ideas, and then most people say, yeah, but that's all there is. And then we push a little bit further, and then we get to the crazy ideas, to the stuff that actually doesn't make sense or is not realistic, but ideas that really get us a little bit outside of the box. And then when we go further, then what hopefully happens is that we get to innovative ideas. And innovative ideas are then something that comes after creative, because they suddenly seem to be obvious again. And here in that situation, then we are talking about a paradigm shift. Suddenly we are seeing things in a different light, in a different way. Like this famous pictures here that if you look in the one way, it looks like a duck. If you look from that side, it looks like a rabbit. If you see it the first time, you see probably one or the other, and it takes you some time to see the other one. There's a lot of these pictures. This is one of the easier ones, obviously. But this is kind of the stereotypical idea of a paradigm shift, seeing things in a different way. And here I want to tell a short story that Daniel, not this Daniel, a different Daniel, the founder of the World Coaching Organization, has been telling. It's a nice story, so I'm doing what every decent coach does. I'm stealing it. No, seriously, it's a nice story, so I'm just sharing it. And Daniel says that he had a customer he has been doing business coaching with, and after some time that customer was really, really distracted, and they asked him, what's up? And the customer said, well, I think my wife is going to leave me. And then Daniel said, well, why? Why do you think so? He said, well, he told a long story that things are just not really quite right anymore, and then that, yeah, do you want to talk about it? And he said, yeah, let's work on that one. And then, yeah, what do you want to do? Well, maybe I could get her something nice for Valentine's Day. I said, yeah, okay, what could you get? And then, yeah, well, flowers, dinner, jewelry. Okay, anything else? No, there is nothing else. Customer said, no, there is nothing else that you can get a woman for Valentine's Day. That's it. And then they pushed a little bit further, said, come on, there has to be some more. And then he came up with some more ideas. And then he said, yeah, well, no, there is not more. And they said, well, we need 40 ideas. And the customer said, 40 ideas, you're crazy. And he said, no, go crazy. And then the customer said, crazy is easy. Well, then I promise my wife the moon, or I do naked cooking for her, or whatsoever. And by that,
things exclusive from one another.
You have to ask. Yeah.
Promising the moon and the nude cooking, of course.
You can do both next time.
Yes, the same thing.
And then that kind of started the creative process, and then actually the customer had the final idea later on, which was then kind of the innovative idea. And what the customer finally did was, on Valentine's Day, he took his wife and went with her to a Home Depot place, like Plantage or something like that. So you can imagine, on Valentine's Day, he takes his wife and goes to a place like that. She must have thought, what on earth? And then they bought a little tree, which probably didn't really make it much better. The story actually happened in Portugal, in Lisbon, and not far away from Lisbon is a nice place called Sintra. And then he took the tree and his wife and drove with her to Sintra, because there is the place where they kissed for the very first time, and there where they kissed for the very first time, there they planted the tree. Isn't that a nice story? Is that not something where you think, no, of course everybody should do that. It's obvious, right? But it really takes this process that we had here before to get from the crazy ideas to the innovative, before something comes up where you think, yeah, sure, everybody should do that. And then the last and really not least important thing that a coach does is helping with following through, with following up. A lot of people think they have to do it themselves. Some are even embarrassed that they need help to achieve things, to get stuff done. I was one of them. One thing that really changed my mind was a story that Anthony Robbins told, that he has a customer who pays him $1 million per year, largely for nothing else that Robin calls him now and then and asks him if he has been doing the stuff he promised to do. And then at some point he told the customer that, you are doing your stuff, you don't actually need me anymore, we can quit that. And the customer said, are you crazy? I'm only doing that because I know you call me in 2 weeks and ask me. And I think that just shows, right? If a person that can afford to pay 1 million euros per year just to have somebody call him, then I think none of us here needs to be ashamed that we need some help with following through now and then. And on top of that, of course, a coach can actually coach you on how to follow through. And here as well, a coach can give you maybe advice on how to do it better. And here we come as well to the next part, to my take on coaching. My take on coaching is really that it's actually a combination out of all of these kind of things. The core part is certainly listening, having conversations, helping people to straighten out their thought. Very, very important, the most important thing a coach can do. Supported by really helping people follow through and as well catching them when they fall, and be just an encouragement and a help on that level. But then beyond that, really help, support, and as well give advice and guidance when it's feasible, when it's needed, and when you actually can contribute like that. And then as well, I think in my coaching, I'm always encouraging people to learn something new, to actually take a self-help book and learn something new. And then whatever comes out from that one, we can then take it back to the conversation and think about it and make it work for that specific person, for that specific life situation. And by that, now when you are alone, by yourself, there is something that you can do all by yourself already today. It's really ask yourself, what is my reality? What's up? What are my objectives? What do I really want to get out of that? What do I really want to do next? Then start to think about solutions. Be creative, be crazy, go overboard. Try to look at things from a different point of view, find different solutions. And then, lastly, take action. And tell somebody about it, because that helps you being accountable. And this is how you make dreams come true. Thank you.
Awesome.